just for fun, I brought along a hydrophone. I'm going to drop it in the water. It's in the water right now. You're sitting here stationary. You can probably hear this. Now I'm going to ask Eric to turn the trolling motor on the quietest possible speed. Go ahead and turn it on. Now I hear nothing, but I bet that it's blowing your ears out. I'll just kick it off. Makes a lot of noise, doesn't it? But it's a relatively high frequency, but you better believe fish can hear it. But what they hear best, what travels the furthest, are really low frequencies, like the plopper puts off. And the frequencies they hear best are below the human hearing range. And the only way to really detect it would be to hook this thing up to an oscilloscope. Sort of like when you're outside of a place where they're playing music. You get outside, all you hear is the bass drum and the bass guitar. Go in, the lead guitar player will break your eardrums. Outside, you don't even hear it. Plopper kicks off probably, depending on the size of it and the speed that you're running it, it might kick off almost 3 octaves. Listen real close. It goes. And in the language, like speaking fish language, what that sound is saying in fish is bite me.
Here you go, Larry. The water's getting a little deeper. Let's try the 190.
Thank you, Mr. Eric. Now it's going to be real interesting. You just heard the 130 in this same depth of water. We'll throw this 190. Magic sound. Eric and I have been talking about why in the heck it is that these things will take this bait that's this big down so deep that it's in their throat and sometimes gets to be risky. And I couldn't quite, it didn't make any sense to me that they were choking it down that deep, and still I started thinking about it. They got rubber lips. They got nothing to hang on to anything with. And they're really more designed, I think, physiologically to eat crustaceans and things. But if they're going to get a mullet into their belly, they got to get it in past those slippery lips. So when they commit, they got to like be gulping it, or they're going to bite down. It'll be like Granny with no false teeth trying to eat a slippery piece of meat. No grasping, seizing, only crushers. Even a bass has got little sandpaper teeth to hang on to things. Muscular pike has got a mouthful of teeth for grasping and seizing. Barracuda, wahoo, kingfish got teeth to cut stuff in half, or maybe even detail it. Poor old redfish, all he's got is a set of rubbery lips. And typically, that's why you don't get any real short strikes on the plopper. Now listen to this boy. Short speed, medium sound. Listen, I'm just going to pick up the line fast. Isn't that interesting? Well, oftentimes your line makes more noise than the lure does. And a lure doesn't need rattles in it to make a sound. The sound of the hooks in the split ring banging against the lure, if it's hitting bottom, makes plenty of noise on its own. Sometimes you want the brass band rolling into town, other times a whisper's better than a shout. The way the sound kind of works in the water is interesting. You have to think of it as a sphere. This lure's on the surface, So there's a part of a sphere that's up in the air, and it's traveling at the speed of sound, 600 miles an hour. And then there's another semicircle or a sphere that's emanating away from it that's a bubble shape. And if it never reaches the bottom, it stays a bubble. If it reaches the bottom, it bounces back and moves. And that noise that's going under the water is traveling at about 5 times the speed of the stuff that's above it. So you're kicking out this big sound that's going this way and it's going down. How far does it go? I've seen fish react from 100 yards with a plopper. And sometimes what we're doing heavy cover, rather than go bong, 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 and make fan casts, cast in exactly the same place a bunch of times. And sometimes it'll get the fish to move and they come to the area and bite there, as opposed to you're casting around like this or headed for it from a distance, then it goes over here and they move over here. I've actually physically sat and watched that happen, especially in really heavy cover. It isn't dumb to find a lane and make multiple casts. We've still got the underwater mic in the water. And what we'll do is start the motor and you'll see how loud it is. And if we get to see a boat going by, even a quarter mile or half a mile, we'll drop it down and it will amaze you how loud it is. And what blows my mind is in a lake that has a lot of traffic, if you put that microphone down, you can hear boats that are half a mile away, quarter mile away. A guy can be idling at the boat launch and it sounds like you got a bilge pump running. And the thing that confuses me is with all that static going on, it has to totally mess up a certain frequency range in a fish's radar. And it has to change the way that they operate. It just has to. Unless they just go click, click, click down and it's all low frequency and they can, band it out like we do.
Yeah.
That's one of those mysteries that is yet to be solved, and I'm going to leave it to guys your age to do that. And you can call me in the old people's home and tell me the answer. So you've heard the differences in the sounds between the large sizes, the medium sizes, small sizes, and how they sound different, whether the bottom is hard, whether the bottom is soft, or how deep it is. Hopefully it will improve your ability to select the right lure more quickly. Try it, see what you think.